that I did notice that you freeze once a little bit there, so we'll just monitor that.
Okay, thanks, Your Worship. I am happy to I pass it to you, or I can read the opening statement.
Okay, so we call this meeting to order now at 7:07. And I need a motion to appoint Shannon Story as acting corporate officer.
So moved, Lightfoot.
Seconder?
McCann.
All those in favor?
Mm-hmm.
And carried. Now, would you like me to continue, Shannon, or do you have something to add in there?
I will read the opening statement before you continue, if that's okay with you, Your Worship. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the October 11th council meeting of the Village of Lytton. I'd like to take a moment to remind everyone to please turn off your video, mute your microphones to allow council to begin the proceedings. We typically record this on YouTube for those of you that came in late. We are having issues with YouTube this evening, so we will be recording it instead via Zoom, and we will upload the recording later.
Oh, they're not putting it on. They're not putting it on.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor, and you may call the
Let
rest
me
of the
cast it. If I
So we're
can.
just going to ask for everyone to put their thank you on to mute. Perfect. Okay, so at the table here today is the entire council. The entire council, which is nice to see. We were just saying, other than one time in Kamloops, this is our second time at the Parish Hall to be all here. We also have Mike Blaschuk joining us as Deputy Corporate Officer in accordance with our procedural bylaw. So I want to start out by acknowledging that we are meeting this evening on the traditional and unceded territory of the Entrecatton people, and we are committed to working with our First Nation neighbors on whose territory we reside. All right, so item number 3, we need a motion to adopt the agenda for this evening.
I'll move that council adopt the regular council meeting agenda for October 11th, 2023 as presented and amended.
And a seconder?
Seconded, Toss.
Thank you. And all those in favor? And carried. So we'll move on to adoption of the minutes, and we have 2 sets of minutes to adopt. The first one is the regular council meeting from September 27th. Motion, please.
I move that minutes of the regular council meeting held on September 27th be adopted as presented.
Excellent. Seconder?
I'll second.
Thank you, Councillor Michelle. Were there any errors or omissions? Nope. So seeing that, all those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. And the second set of minutes here, we need a motion.
I'll move that the minutes of the public hearing held on September 27th, 2023 be adopted as presented, amended.
And seconder, Lightfoot. And were there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, all those in favor to adopt as presented and carried. Perfect. All right, we now move to item number 5, which is public comment. And I'll turn it back over to CO Story.
Thank you, Your Worship. Members of the public are now invited to comment on matters related to the agenda. If you would like to speak, please use the raise hand function on Zoom. You can find this by clicking on reactions at the bottom of your screen and then clicking raise hand. When it's your turn, I'll read your name and will ask you to unmute yourself. You will get a pop-up screen asking to unmute, and you will have 2 minutes to speak. Please state your name, address, and the agenda item you'll be speaking to. Thank you. If you'd like to speak, please raise your hand now. Calling a first time. I do not see any raised hands. And a second time, I do not see any raised hands. A third time, is there anyone in Parish Hall that would like to speak, Your Worship?
No, there's not.
Okay, calling for a third time. Again, not seeing any raised hands. That completes the public comment portion of the meeting. Over to you, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you. Now on to item number 6, and I'll turn it over to the CAO, Diane Mombercat.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. Good evening, everyone. The first item I have on the agenda tonight for council is just an information report with respect to our 2023 tax sale. So the tax sale occurred on September the 25th at 10 a.m., which is as prescribed by the Local Government Act. When it came time for the sale, we had 5 properties that had delinquent taxes. So delinquent taxes are those that are outstanding for 3 years. So in this case, those would be the taxes that were levied in 2021. And so we had 5 properties that we were unable to collect, and we had been working with the owners, and so those were up for tax sale. So Mike Blaschuk took the role as collector, delegated by me. He stood in for me and proceeded with the sale. So the sale started with each property was described and offered at the upset price. So the upset price is the sum of all of the outstanding taxes and penalties and interest, including a 5% administration fee and a land title registration fee. So that's kind of the minimum bid. That's where the auction starts. And then Mike Blaschuk, had conducted kind of an auction from there on. So there were, I think it was 5 bidders had showed up for the sale, bidding on the various properties, and all 5 of the properties sold, and all 5 of them, the funds were delivered to the village by noon on that day, which was the deadline for that. So the owners of the properties have 1 year to redeem those taxes, and the redemption price is equal to the upset price plus any additional funds that the successful bidder may have to invest in order to secure the property or to kind of keep it maintained, but not to a high level, but just kind of basic maintenance. So the 5 properties that were sold was 175 Old Trans-Canada Highway, 336 Main Street, 168 Loring Way, 557 Station Road, and 848 Station Road. So those owners will receive a notice within the next, the deadline is within 3 months from the date of the sale, letting them know that their property has gone for tax sale. We've been in communication with all of them, and so they are aware. And we'll continue over the next year to work with them to see if we can get that upset price paid and get the properties redeemed and retained in their names. So that is, and so the total of the total that was collected on that day was $27,453. That was the total of all the bids that were made. So
Great. Thank you. Thank you. We have a motion to receive this report for information.
Also moved.
Thank you. And seconder, Lightfoot. And are there any comments or questions for CEO Mombercat? No, thank you for that information. All those in favor?
Aye.
And carried. Thank you. Now we'll move on to utility charges and CEO Mombercat or CAO Mombercat.
thank you again, Mayor O'Connor. This report is to bring back in front of council for a decision whether or not we want to continue with the 15% reduction in the water and sewer fees. So back in 2022, the council passed a resolution to reduce the fees charged to the residents. So this would be on Loring Way, Ponderosa, Kent, sort of the homes that survived the fire. It was decided to reduce the utility fees by 15%, taking into account the fact that we were still on a boil water advisory, and there were still kind of shutdowns and repairs needed and those kinds of things. This is coming back to council now in time for what would be the fourth quarter billing, fourth quarter of the calendar year. primarily because the boil water advisory has been lifted. And there were significant repairs made on Ponderosa this summer, and the system is up and functioning every day. So it's being recommended that the discount that was previously applied be removed for the next billing, which will be October 1st to December 31st.
Thank you. We have a recommended motion. We would like to put that forward.
I'll move that council discontinue the 15% discount applied to utility billings for existing residents, starting with the third quarter billing, July to September 2023.
And a seconder.
I'll second that.
Great. Now, comments, questions?
Just for clarity, this this particular invoice went out to residents already for July to September?
This is for the October 1st to December billing, which has not gone out yet. It has not gone out yet.
So the way this motion reads, it sounds like it starts with the third quarter billing rather than the fourth quarter billing.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes.
you're right.
So we could amend that to starting with the fourth quarter billing,
Yeah.
October to December.
I apologize. You're completely correct, Councillor Toss. Thank you for picking up on that.
Yes, thank you for that. Are there any other comments or questions?
That would have been mine.
So all those in favor of this amended motion? Yeah, and carried. Thank you. All right, we move on to recovery manager report, and it's like item 6B, 6B.1, water grant profile. Reprofile, sorry, and I'll turn this over, I suppose, to Mike Baker.
No, I'm just giving update on this, right?
Oh,
I think this is for the CAO.
is this for the CAO?
Yeah, I was
apologize.
gonna do this on Dawn's behalf. Sorry about
Oh,
that.
yes, no,
Okay.
no problem. No
We got a
problem.
little bit of confusion there. So we're seeking council's approval to submit to the UBCM a realignment of the priorities that will be captured under the grant of the water grant for $5 million. So as you know, the water grant has been approved for the village of Lytton for $5 million. And in the initial application for the grant, there were specific items identified, and those are in the report. It talks about, you know, some of the pipes that needed to be replaced and some renovations to some reservoirs and some other specific projects. What we have been speaking with our colleagues at UBCM about and working with, you know, kind of on our water and sewer plans as we get things kind of regenerated. Those aren't necessarily exactly the priorities that we would spend the $5 million on. And so they were open to receiving the language they use is a reprofile of the grant to a different set of priorities, as long as they're all water related, of course. So staff is recommending that we seek approval from them for the items that are included on the second page. And I do believe we've been through this list of kind of water priorities before, but I'll very quickly just kind of run through the list. You know, we have you know, some repairs are needed to the catchment basin up at the reservoir, and I think we all saw that with our own eyes when we did our water tour back in August, I think that was. You know, there is some investigation work required around a sinkhole that we have at 6th and Main Street. This is at a fairly detailed level, and some of this work will obviously be bundled together when we go out to look for a provider for this. And so some leak work around Main Street and Station Road. And around Main Street, around down the alley by the parish hall, down that way, there's some leaks down there as well. There's a major leak on First Street and Main Street, kind of near the public works yard road, that little access to the public works yard. Got some issues with some hydrants that need to be dealt with, and overall we have some mapping issues where some of there's lines that we know exist that aren't showing on maps, and there's things that are showing on maps that we have not been able to locate. So it's kind of a combination of things going both ways. And so we definitely have some work to do in that area. And some of it has to do with, as the recovery team is working on retaining walls and those kinds of things, we need to make sure that we know where the water and sewer lines are in relation to that. Because if we're going to make investments and we're going to make those improvements, we only want to do it once. And so this is the list that we're recommending that we go back and request permission to replace the initial projects that were in the grant application with these ones, and then we will move forward on that. Many of these items have come out of our work that we've been doing with IHA for our water permit. So, there's items on here that are required, and then of course all of the leak detection and repair work that has started, but definitely needs to be completed.
Great, thank you. We have a recommended motion. I'd like to put that forward.
I can make a motion
Thank you.
that council approve a reprofile of the UBCM Strategic Priorities Fund, SPF, to complete rehabilitation of the Village of Lytton's drinking and potable water distribution system in the amount of $5 million.
Great, seconder. Thank you, Toss. And are there any questions for Diane? Comments? No, very straightforward. It was nice to have that detailed report. Thank you. All those in favor? Carried. Perfect. Thank you. And I do see on the report, it does say you're presenting. I apologize.
Okay.
So now we'll move on to item number B2, recovery rebuild report. That would be Mike.
We're gonna call this up on the screen.
Yeah, we'll just get that up. 1 minute.
Thank you. So I have the next slide. And just it's a reminder, we're looking at a number of different facets all at the same time. The site cleanup, the remediation, the archaeology are all about the site restoration. They're all going on as right now, but as we're going to start shifting going forward into the other parts, we're increasingly focused on utilities and services. So you're starting to see those come through, and housing with the initial focus on getting people's lots ready and helping guide them through the permitting process. So we'll also continue to focus on getting buildings, both the commercial buildings and the municipal buildings. Mostly our roles will be there getting the services in place and getting the sites ready. So go to the next slide. So keep in mind, I write this about a week and a half ago, so most of it is pretty accurate, but a few things I would update. So zones 1, 2, and 3, they're largely complete for cap and fill. We've had successful geotech testing on that. Every property's passed. We haven't even had not even a close call. It's amazing material we have that passes every single time. And now we're starting to work with owners on site leveling and grading. So you'll see us there adjusting, like sort of say this is sort of the first pass. We roughly got it. It's equivalent. You've done your first cut of the wood. There's some high spots or some low spots, and we're going to go back, get the planer out, see if we can get it in the right place. Backfilling commenced on zones 4 and 5. Zone 4 is largely done. We still have some properties up the hill east of Maine, so we'll be on those in about 2 or 3 weeks. We're sort of focusing on going on level sites right now. We started on zone 5, which we just got the okay from a week ago. So we got last Tuesday. We're in there. We've got probably about a third of it done already. We anticipate by next week we'll have most of zone 5, other than up the hill, will be complete. I said work plan for zone 6 was submitted. It's been submitted. We received the endorsement. We're ready to proceed on 6. We will be starting. I said anticipated start date approximately April or October 11th. We're actually starting October 12th. So we're starting on that one tomorrow. Technically, we did start today because we finished a few things on it to prep it. The next slide, it shows the map. So it's largely, Shannon, can I get the next? Oh. Didn't have the slides here.
That is the last slide, Mike, I'm afraid. There's no other slides.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
That was a technology issue. So there's a fabulous chart that shows where we are. As we proceed up north in beautiful color codes, come to my truck tomorrow. I'll show it to you. And you'll get a private presentation. I guarantee it'll be astounding. And there are pictures we're showing. So this will be available for download on the site. And we're just capturing pictures of as we move through the site, and things are really progressing well. Again, utilities and services focus on addressing leaks, temporary repairs in the village. The housing, again, big thing we're doing right now is working with owners. People are sort of getting more of an idea of what they've got, so we're trying to protect that they can go down if they know they're putting like, oh, I'm putting a 4-foot foundation. Okay, let's figure out how I can give you four clean feet to work in, and that helps. I mean, people were on the site yesterday with someone, and it's like, I'm putting my garage here. Okay, I'm going to get a certain level here. We'll get that in. I don't want to hear, well, there's some pretty good soil. We're not actually going to put anything on that, and into their property. And it's like, could you move that sidewalk? I'm not going to put that access there. So the machine lets it move it and everything else. So we're trying to work closely. We can still go back. So people go back, they look at their sites, and that happens. We come back and they say, there's more of a bump here than I want. You guys do something with that, and we do that. We go back and try and make it work. We're continuing supporting the Pacific Am program. I can tell you we're still active in negotiations on that, and there'll be more news for the next council meeting on that. Business commercial, we're still working on the backfill, so we're starting getting on some of the bigger sites that are in the commercial are getting backfilled right now. Everything in zone 5 and 6 between sort of, I guess between 4th and 6th is sort of heavy for the next 2 days. We're putting lots of fill. We're down about 8 feet in some of those areas. And we're giving them geotech cloth when they go back in later on. They can find out how far they can go and where the extent of the property is. And again, there's continuing applications for funding from the federal government for government services and facilities. So basically, it's proceeding well. I'm really happy how it's going on the site. The team works well with each other. They kind of read it. We haven't had any close calls on archaeological. We haven't had any safety issues. We meet every morning at 7. Go over the safety and what we're doing on. Before we start a new zone, we walk through with myself and the contractor and the archaeologist to make certain we've got a good plan and how we're doing it. And it goes pretty quick. So we're seeing, basically, the first half, took us, a month and a bit. The last half is in weeks. Mm-hmm. So we're moving pretty quickly. And so we we have the work plan in for, it's being finalized for zone 7. And that's going to be tricky because there's ancestral remains in there. And there's another one that's called Other, which is we call it 7.5. And there's about 15 properties that are scattered up the hills and around. So right now we're mostly just preparing. We've got the weed whackers and rubbers in there cleaning those. So we have a good idea once we get in there to see what we've got. And so still some tricky ones to come, but by the next 3 weeks, we should have probably about 90% of the lots in town will be ready. So,
Thank you. So we have a recommended motion. I would like to forward.
I will move that council receive the recovery rebuild report dated October 11, 2023 for information.
A seconder. Councillor Lightfoot. And are there any questions or comments for Mike?
Big thank you.
Just keep going.
Yeah.
It's fun. This is actually fun, believe it or not. This part when it's actually working.
When things are happening.
Oh, I get to be that kid in the sandbox again. I'm loving it.
Yeah, I just have to say that it is impressive to see how quickly things have been moving, and lots of positive comments are hearing from people as they're driving through and recording. So thank you so much.
Yeah, pass on our appreciation to Fred and his crew for what they were
Oh.
doing ahead of the game there. Everyone sees and appreciates what they, the work that they've had to
Amazing,
do.
and it's such difficult work, and they're doing amazing stuff, and we'll take Fred and the team out for dinner next week to celebrate, so.
Nice. Okay, great. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
And carried, perfect. Okay, we're going to move on to correspondence, and we do have one item from through correspondence, which was a letter from Jay Chalk, the ombudsperson, and who would like to make that motion? See that for information.
I'll move the correspondence dated October 2nd, 2023 from Jay Chalk, Ombudsman, Province of British Columbia, be received for information.
And seconder, Councillor Lightfoot. All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried, great. I'll just comment that I know possibly some of you on council were interviewed by Jay Chalk and the ombudsperson quite a few months ago. I can't remember when. I know I was, and it's so great to see the recommendations come out and go to the province around ESS support services based on the 2021 fires. So that's great. Okay, so we're moving on now to item number 8, which is verbal reports. I have a short verbal report here. So since the last council meeting, we had 2 long weekends in there, which meant 2 short weeks. So the first long weekend, of course, was the Truth and Reconciliation Day, or some people call it Orange Shirt Day. I know I wore my orange shirt and was able to visit around the community on the Friday. Last weekend, of course, was Thanksgiving, and I know, we faced so many challenges with our 2 years gone by, but I do know that Thanksgiving is a great weekend because we have a lot of things to be thankful for. One of them, of course, was attending the delayed or postponed Riverfest activities on that weekend. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. I met and spoke with a number of residents over the last 2 weeks, lots of conversations, answering questions, and sometimes just listening to their concerns and thoughts. That did continue. We had a coffee with the mayor. We had a couple of them. One of them was extremely well attended, and the second one this past Thanksgiving Monday, fewer people, but it was still so nice to visit with the people that did come. A few people that I heard from shared their concern about how 6 months is approaching since they received their extension on their insurance, and they're wondering about what will that mean for them. Will they be needing to apply for new or for it to be renewed again, or if they can, or so there's still questions around that for a lot of people. So yeah, so that's all I have to report at this time. So I will move it over to Councillor Thomas.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have nothing much to report this week. I'm happy to be in Lytton and doing some time up at the high school, teaching and speaking with lots of residents and watching the good work our recovery team's doing on the ground. So appreciate that. And I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Councillor McCann.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. Attended a few meetings in the last little while, but not a lot. I went to the Orange Shirt Day at the school at KSS, and that was nice to do. I went to the October 2nd Coffee with Council at the Parish Hall. And on October 5th, there was a Tecumseh Fire Smart Committee meeting that I attended. And then, of course, the River Festival on the weekend. The October 2nd Coffee with Council had 30 residents in attendance. Those present discussed a plan to organize a rally in support of those hoping to rebuild in Lytton. The Fire Smart meeting involved a report of the committee activities and opportunities that were carried out over the past year. In addition to that report, the chair reviewed the project proposal for the 2024 grant application And that grant will support fire smart initiatives in both a village and LFN bands. And it's a healthy chunk of money that they're looking for there. Should be a really worthy thing that comes out of that. So, more to come.
Thank you.
For today.
Thank you, Councillor Michelle.
For council business, I don't have anything to report. Same residents, same issues, insurance, and when can they start? Aside from that, nothing much.
Thank you, Councillor Lightfoot.
I attended the October 2nd coffee in the hall here, and there were a lot of people. I think there was 30 people, and it was a good conversation. I'm on the NDIT board, and they had a special meeting just a week or so ago to review their investment portfolios. They only divest the money they earn each year. So in the last few years, their investments haven't been making as much. So they're trying to strategize on how to review their investments in the future. And there may be a bit less money, but it's volatile time everywhere for everyone. Last weekend, as Mayor O'Connor said, Riverfest happened, and so Noni and myself were busy, and Mayor O'Connor helped quite a bit, and Mike and the village crew were able to bring us a generator to get the sound system up. That was appreciated. This is my favorite time of the year. It's cool at night and warm and sunny, and Lytton broke its record high on Sunday. It was 29.6. So we used to be thrilled when we were the hot spot, but sometimes it loses its appeal lately. Anyway, thank you, Mayor O'Connor.
Thank you very much. Good. Okay. So we'll move on to, well, that really brings us to the end of the public meeting, the open meeting. We're going to be moving into closed meeting. And so I want to thank everyone who has joined us here on the meeting, but we do need a motion to move into closed meeting.
So the council closed the meeting to the public to discuss matters related to community charter, section 92B, consideration of information received and held in confidence relating to negotiations between the municipality and a provincial government or the federal government or both, or between a provincial government or the federal government and a third party. 91B, the security of the property of the municipality.
Great. Thank you. A seconder, Councillor Lightfoot, and all those in favor, carried. So thank you. I will turn it back over to you, CO Story.
Thank you, Your Worship. This concludes the public portion of today's council meeting. For members of the public, we thank you for attending and ask that you please leave the meeting now. I'll also be stopping the recording, Mayor and Council.